everybody. Hello. Welcome. Welcome,
Yes.
everyone, to Talk to the Entities Zoom, free Zoom. This is called a free Zoom. On the topic is the dark and the lightness, the dark and the light of Talk to the Entities. Did that stir up some emotions for anybody? Hello, Samantha. Hey, I see Gurjeet. Awesome. So tell
When
me,
you
lovely.
talk about entity, when you
Yeah.
talk about entities, something like inside me
Rishi.
stirs.
Hello.
Awesome. What is that inside of you that stirs, my dear?
I don't know what it stirs, but it's something inside me stirs.
Yeah, it's that energy that starts to move.
Yes,
Awesome.
that's an energy that moves something and drastically it moves.
Wonderful. How does it get any better than this? Truly, I mean, how much
How does
fun
it,
can you
yes,
have
how
with
does
that,
it get,
right? Yeah. I mean, how much fun can you have with just
right?
knowing? Yeah.
Mm,
Awesome.
yeah.
Yes. So yeah, Harishi, you have you saying something, darling? Hari? No, okay. I thought you were putting your finger up.
No,
Okay.
no.
All right. So I had to share something really funny with all of you. I mean, I found it really funny. My husband freaked out, but I found it really funny. Okay. So we were sleeping last night, and like any other night. Hi. No, no, no. You can stay. You can stay. Oh, children. So we were sleeping last night, and at about 2:33, so the AC was on. At about 2:33, the fan switched on its own on full speed. Okay. And it went, zzz, and my husband woke up and he said, "Why did you switch on the fan?" I said, "I didn't." He said, "It just switched on its own." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Just switch it off and let's sleep." So he says, "No, but get up. How did that happen?" I'm like, "Oh, honey, can I not do that at 3 in the morning? Can I just sleep?" He's like, "No, but you got to get up. I mean, how can the fan just switch on its own?" How many of you have had such experiences where you just freaked out? Or you call the electrician like my husband did today to say there's something wrong with the fan. Everywhere you've done that and not acknowledged when someone's trying to get through to you, would you call, destroy, and uncreate that? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, pock, line shots, boys and beyonds. Hi, mom.
Hi, darling.
Good to see you. It's always so special when my mom's on my cloud calls. Okay, so that was just a funny share. I just found it really hilarious and I laughed and I laughed and I woke up in the morning and I laughed even more when he was calling up the electrician and saying, "You got to come and check this." And I was like, "All right, okay, let him have fun with that while I just sleep through the night."
I have an allergy of or the word abnormal come up when it's
Yeah, yeah,
abnormal or yeah, just not okay.
just not right. I mean, it's not normal. And thank you for that, Sam, because it is not normal, right? In this reality, it's not normal. But when someone's trying to get through to you and you don't listen to them, what do they do? It's like, what are entities? Entities are any energy that can be defined. Any energy that can be defined. Having said that, you two are an entity, your table's an entity, your laptop is an entity. So what makes it easy for the also disembodied beings are entities. What we call in this world, in this reality, we call them spirits, we call them ghosts. So what makes it easy for them to reach out to us through electricity is that what they are is a charge. What they are is energy, right? Which is why that's the easiest way to reach out. What if that's not a wrongness? What if that's just a form of communication? And what can you receive if you started to receive that information? Would you have more ease or would you have less ease? Would you be driving yourself crazy trying to find out why, what, when? Or could you just ask a question and receive? And if that's not normal, ease is not normal in this reality, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how much more ease can you ask for, even if people define that as not normal? Yeah. I love what that did to everybody. Everyone just went, hmm. Okay, interesting. So, do we have any questions?
I do.
Yes, go
I have
for
a
it,
share
Alex.
and a question. It's funny that you spoke
Yeah.
about your fan. I have an experience where my partner was actually watching Sabrina on Netflix, and it's all about the witches and cats. And he went on to share about it. I was like, I kind of know this. I know this thing, and we
It's so
just went to see.
real. Yeah.
So he did switch it off, but at around 4:30 in the morning, the computer turned on and Sabrina started playing. Both of us are like, what the hell just happened? And so he was like, you go switch it off. I was like, I'm not switching it off, not because I'm scared, but I'm fucking lazy. I'm not doing it. So I so get the whole part where you shared, go switch off the fan. We're not scared to switch it off, but we're really lazy to go do
Yeah.
that at 3 in the
Yeah.
morning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So here's my question
Yes.
about, every question of access consciousness so beautifully. I don't know if it's a question or a share, but I'm just going to roll with it. Is how beautifully we stress on the space of knowing, being, receiving, and perceiving. And that's the most tested in the space of spirit world. Could you share more on that?
Yeah.
We're so hardwired to use our five senses, while the spirit world and receiving really tests all the five, all the cognition attached to that.
Absolutely, Sam. Thank you for putting it that way, because now you want to look at when you cognitively see anything or cognitively define something. How do you do that? With your five senses, right? You cognitize what is by either, your five senses that seem to be normal, the normal way of doing it, the normal way of being it. Now, the spirit world is something that you don't get to see. You get to perceive it, right? So, just a second. So, in this reality, what you can see, what you can hear, what you can touch, what you can feel, and what you can taste is justifiable. It's explainable. What you perceive is not justifiable. What you perceive is not explainable, because what you perceive would be different from what I perceive. What you know would be different from what I know. So when you're willing to know, be, perceive, is when you receive. But when you're not willing to know, be, perceive, is when you justify being in the five senses. That has you defining, that has you explaining, that has you justifying.
Understanding.
Understanding. Absolutely. Understanding. It's like, it's not normal. When you can't understand something, that's not normal. But when you just know something, again, that's not explainable. That's not justifiable. You cannot make
Abnormal.
anyone, yeah, and that in this reality is known as abnormal. But come on, guys, what you know, if you really started to set out to explain that to anybody, would anyone get you? Or would they look at you and say, she's crazy? But are you willing to actually indulge in what you know for just a few seconds today? Like just a few seconds. Are you willing to indulge in your knowing without a judgment of it, without a need to understand it? What do you know about the spirit world? Truth. Is it real and true for you? Do you get a yes or do you get a no?
Yes, I get.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that is what is true. The spirit world exists, but what has us doubting it is that, yeah, Mahima, what has us doubting it is our inability to explain it or justify it. But if you are willing to acknowledge what you know about the spirit world, what would that be? What could you receive? What could you be? And are you willing to have the ease with that? You see, it's like when you look at bacteria on the earth, on the planet. There's a lot of bacteria which has been defined, which has been given a name. And then there's bacteria that's not yet defined, that doesn't yet have a name. Because science has not been able to understand it, segregate it, separate it, to define it and give it a name based on its properties, right? But does that mean that that bacteria doesn't exist? It still exists, even if you can't justify it. Bacteria in the soil, there are over millions of different forms of bacteria. We have the names of just 1,000, maybe. And that's how varied the spirit kingdom is too. But just because it can't be justifiable or it cannot be understood and it cannot be seen doesn't make it a lie. It still exists. And are you willing to receive from that? Or would you rather turn down your awareness and be at the effect of that? Now, that is something that I really would like to talk a little bit more about. It's like when you're not willing to acknowledge something in your world, it could be anything. Sam, I love your background. When you're not willing to acknowledge something in your world and you resist and react to it, you will find yourself at the effect of it. But if you acknowledge it and you're like, yeah, it exists. Okay, cool. Do I have to do anything about it? Not really. Just acknowledge it. That in itself has you now being in control. Now you no longer find yourself at the effect of it. So some of the dark secrets, some of the lies around the entity world is that, oh, don't go there. You'll be at the effect of the entities. Don't go there. Don't do that. That's bad science. That's bad. Don't talk about the spirit kingdom. But that's such a lie. It's like you're willing, you are, if you see, okay, let's just go to millions and millions and millions and millions of years, not millions, thousands and thousands of years ago, when man created on the earth with the earth. It didn't create on the earth separately. When man created on the earth, including the nature spirits, including the earth spirits, it would light fire, it would dance around the fire, people would dance around the fire, or they would have these drums, and they would have these ceremonies where they were celebrating the earth, where they were celebrating the earth spirits. And then they went into slowly, it started to become a separation. And slowly, There was absolutely no acknowledgement of the earth. There was absolutely no acknowledgement of the earth spirits. There was absolutely no acknowledgement of what could not be seen yet existed. So, what have you decided and concluded doesn't exist simply because you can't define it? That has you being at the effect of it. Right, wrong, good, bad, what, what, all 9 shots, boys and beyonds. So, does talk to the entities, does talk to the entities, the class, does that get you to get aware of the entity world? And does that make you aware in a manner that now you have no control and now you don't, and now you can't change that and stuff like that? Or does it get you aware of what you've always known and gives you the tools of now what you can do with your awareness, where now you are no longer at the effect of your awareness, but you really know what to do with your awareness. And everything that doesn't allow you to know, be, perceive, and receive the ease of that, would you destroy and uncreate that?
Yes.
Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all 9 shots, boys and beyonds. Good evening, Anandavali. I like your name, it sounds like a song, Anandavali. Okay. So
There was
Judith,
another question
yeah,
from Judith. She asks, could you talk more about cooperation with them, please?
absolutely, honey. So I will just get to that. So this year we had the rewrite of Talk to the Entities for the first time, right? For the first time in the history of Talk to the Entities. Up until now, we've had one manual, and we've been creating, clearing a lot of heaviness of the earth, a lot of unconsciousness of the earth with that one manual, and with a lot of ease. And now, with the tracks having changed, I remember last year, or was it this year? When was it? It was in 2020 when we had the facilitator training. I asked Shannon, I said, there seems to be such a different energy with the entity world. There seem to be less people entities, and there seem to be more nature spirits, and there seem to be more beings of light, and there seem to be more teammates. And I said, I don't know if I'm imagining this or is that real and true. So you know how she laughs, and she went into this and she said, yeah, that's because how many people entities have we already left behind in the old track that were not willing to change tracks? And teammates, beings of light, nature spirits, have no point of view. So suddenly the entity world seems to be so much more contributing, so much more cooperating. That was not there earlier. So earlier we had clear, communicate, and receive, because that's all that we actually did with the entity world. Clear, communicate, and receive. So the Talk to the Entities beginning was about clearing, communicating, and a little, very little, barely anything on receiving. And now, with the rewrite, we realized how much of cooperation is there now, how much more of receiving is there that goes beyond anything that can be defined. And how much can you create when you start to be the space of cooperation, which is even different from contribution. Cooperation is required for a contribution. And this beautiful energy of cooperation is what brings you into the space of contribution. And in the new manual, we talk a lot about cooperation. We also talk about receiving, which was never there before. We have a couple of beautiful receiving exercises, absolutely, absolutely melting energies. And we have a brilliant downloading exercise, which was never there before. Having said that, what you receive from a Talk to the Entities class is really what you are willing to have as your reality. Not just with the entity world, not just with the spirit kingdom, but truly as your reality. Because I can speak about myself. When I did the Talk to the Entities and when I became a Talk to the Entities facilitator, it facilitated my body into a lot of ease. It facilitated my body out and beyond the pain. It facilitated me into acknowledging the massive capacity that my body has with the entity world. And by your rejecting it, by your shutting it down, by your saying, no, but that's bad and I don't want to go there, it doesn't really allow you to receive. It will have you constantly at the effect of it. It was only when I put my barriers down to it and I said, okay, I'm going all the way. And I'm willing to be the cooperation, I'm willing to be the contribution, I'm willing to be the gift to the entity world, that my reality began to change. My receiving began to open up in ways that are truly undefinable. I mean, absolutely in every which way undefinable. So everything that doesn't allow you to have the ease, the joy, the glory or oneness, and the kindness that comes with that, would you destroy and uncreate that? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, call 9 shots, boys and beyonds. It takes a lot of kindness, willingness to acknowledge them. It takes a lot of kindness to be willing to acknowledge them. It's so much easier to say, no, 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 no. You know, that it's just so easy to do that. It takes a level of strength and vulnerability to put your barriers down and to acknowledge them. To acknowledge them as their world melting, as their world changing, that has all the unconsciousness that is around them melting into the space that now allows them to make a different choice. Because come on, if they were really conscious, they wouldn't have been on this planet, right? They would have made a different choice by now. So it really is one question that I always ask myself, and I love asking everybody who comes to class is, are you willing to be the gift?
We'll just wait for Chandana to hop back on.
Daisy. So it takes a lot. I don't know where I lost you, but I'm just going to say it takes a lot of kindness and it takes a lot of willingness to receive that would allow you to acknowledge them. So do we have any questions? Anything at all? You're welcome, Judith. I really hope this kind of clarified something for you. And yes, we do talk a lot about cooperation in the class. We have a full section on that.
I have another question if nobody's going for it.
Go for it, darling.
I mean, I was intrigued with the whole poster that was created about, the light and dark secrets of the spirit world.
Yeah.
what would be the light secrets that we are unwilling to know?
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Sam, for always getting that little thing that I wanted to put out there in your worlds. What is the light secret? Is where you kept where you made your own awareness and your knowing and your brilliance and your potency secret. Where did you make your potency secret? Where did you make your brilliance secret? What if that is the lightness of the entity world? Your potency, who you be. What if that is the energy of receiving from the entity world? I never understand entity. I don't have experience. Yeah, Purva, that's so wonderful. Thank you for that. You know, you don't get to. I never experienced entities. Okay, wrong. Wrong, I stand corrected. I was extremely aware of the entity world when I was a child, extremely. Even more aware of the entity world when I was a teenager. And by the age of 16, 17, I had totally shut my awareness down. Totally. I had literally done that to it. I was just not aware of the entity world. So when people would actually say, oh, there was something there, I would be like, nothing. It must have been a rat or must have been something. No, nothing. You know, I had so tuned myself to shut out the awareness that I would actually experience nothing. But it's not about experiencing somebody touching you or someone talking with you or you seeing something. It's really the subtle, very, 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 very subtle changes, like you sitting and reading a book and just sensing something go by and you look and there's nothing there. Or you just walking by and you know, a feather falling on your shoulder and you're looking at your shoulder and saying, oh, where did that come from? Or you just sitting and you hearing somebody calling out to you and you don't, there is nobody around you calling out to you in that moment, but you are so sure that someone did call out to you. They are so subtle, the way an entity communicates with you and is so subtle that more than often you miss it. More than often you don't realize it unless you're willing to be aware of it. And that's where many of us go into coping mechanisms, like coping. We have a full section on coping mechanisms, which is so amazing because I realize what coping mechanisms we choose to avoid being aware, what coping mechanisms we choose to make ourselves wrong, what coping mechanisms do we choose to justify shutting out the spirit kingdom. One of them is addiction. One of them is pain. One of them is mental disorders like bipolar. There are headaches and migraines. One of them is excessive eating, drinking. Of course, addiction includes that. Drugs. Addiction to judgment. One of them is also addiction to destruction, or where you constantly lose money. You're constantly losing instead of creating. So how do we differentiate between universe sending us signals and entities sending us information? Yes, absolutely. There is a difference between the two, but I will come to you. Gurjeet, just a second, love. Did that explain it to you? Did you get more clarity with that, Purva?
Yeah, I got some.
Awesome. Yes. And yeah,
And
and
still I'm having wonder that,
yes.
but fine, I'm okay with wonders
Awesome. How does it get any better than that?
better than this.
Yes, truly. Yeah. Now I'm going to come to Gurjeet's question. So, you know, when the universe, when we say, how do we know the universe is gifting us, or when entities are, when the universe is giving us an information and when the entities are giving us an information, I want to ask you a question here, honey. Have you separated the universe and the entity world? And that's exactly where I want you all to what I'd love you all to be aware of. I mean, how many of us have separated the universe giving me signals is good, it's nice, it's wonderful, it's a white secret, and the dark secret, the light secret and the dark secret is the entity giving me information. What if the universe gives you information through entities? Would you receive it? Would you receive it? Or would you reject it? It's all about inclusion, sweetheart. It's about inclusion. It's about including the entity world, the spirit world, and every other form of communication, every molecule on the planet. It's our judgments of the universe. The universe sent me a feather. That's a nice, light secret. Oh my God, it's an entity. Dark secret. Everything that brought up, can we destroy and uncreate that? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, pock, all nine shorts, poison, beyond. It's only when you're willing to blend the dark with the light is when there is a communion, is when there is true receiving, is when there is true possibilities. Because everything else is about rejection, everything else is about judgments and exclusion. Thank you for your question, Gurjeet.
Thank you, Chandana.
You're
Makes
welcome.
sense.
You're welcome, lovely. It really hit me when you said it can actually make you eat more. Yeah. 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 Storm, did I just said that. Did you get the information? So I will come to Kausha's question. I will just go to Storm's first. So how do we know if the universe sends me a signal through entities? You always want to ask, is this an entity or something else? Not everything is an entity. Not everything is something else. Something else, entity. Always ask, truth, is this an entity? Is this true for me? You always want to go into questioning, never into a judgment or a conclusion of what it is. Okay? You're welcome. And I'm going to take Kausha's question really quick. Yeah. So what you really want to ask, so this is a really huge, massive conversation that we have, you know, Kausha. And what I would really like you to be aware of in this area is to really ask, am I eating for me or am I eating for something or somebody else? Am I drinking for me or am I drinking for something or somebody else? You know, that in itself will give you more clarity. And when we do if you do choose to do the class, you know, it starts to create this beautiful space of awareness of truly what is yours. I mean, I really got the tool, who does this belong to, return to sender with consciousness attached only after the class. I really got the depth of this tool after the class, because your willingness to actually be present with who does this belong to comes from a space of zero judgment and just inclusion. And you're willing to return it to sender with consciousness attached without having a point of view, whether it's embodied, disembodied, this lifetime, any other lifetime. And you set yourself free and you set everybody else free. Yes, body also gives you information. Absolutely. When I see the flyers about dark and light seekers, when the first thing comes to my mind is there's dark entities and light entities. Yes, absolutely, Ira. That's again a brilliant one. I mean, how many people are scared of, the demons and the bad people entities that will harm us, and the good entities are the beings of light and the nature spirits. Yay! The dark entities. But where we go into that energy and we fear the dark entities is where you are not willing to be the source of your own reality. If it is about dark and light and not just about what is this, you know, that's when you're willing to be that energy of, okay, what is this? What's required? Is when you're willing to be the source of your own life, your own creation, making a choice and knowing what's required instead of coming from a space of, oh, I'm so scared, it's a dark entity. Because it really is, Ira, about clearing all your points of views about the dark entities and the light entities and looking at it all for what it is. Not for what you would like it to be, but for what it is.
Yes, thank you, Chandana.
Thank you, Ira.
This is great because like a lot of time when I try to explain about TTPE, I think the greatest fear that people have is oh, how about the dark entities? I don't want to accidentally talk to the dark entities or receive from the dark entities and all these things. So they just totally avoid this whole, topic and the class.
Yeah, absolutely, Ira. And it's so wonderful that you bring it up because when we talk about when we facilitate talk to the entities classes, I recognize people who come from a space of so much fear, so much animosity, so much rejection of the entity world, so much of fear, yet wanting to do the class and coming into the space, and what they start to be is this beautiful energy of knowing what is true for them, knowing where, asking questions, because you see, there are so many entities, and your willingness to clear them comes from the space of having the trust in what you know. Because if you're not going to trust what you know, if you're not going to trust what you're aware of, you're not going to really clear them. You're only going to find yourself at the effect of them. So it starts to build this beautiful muscle of yours called trust. Trusting and knowing that you can never ever be at the effect of the entity world. And if you have that point of view, your points of views create your reality. So it's actually setting you free from that point of view.
Thank you so much, Anna.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, honey.
We had about 38 people joining us from the beginning till the end. So
awesome.
grateful for each of you guys who joined
Wonderful.
this call. And while we just say goodbye and good evening to each of you guys, we would love to invite you, if not for the 3-day, 2-day, whenever you want to choose that, but do invite yourself to the possibility of an intro class. Get your butt to a TTT intro class. That would be a good breadcrumb to chew on.
Absolutely, yeah.
If not for the 2-day, 3-day, it would be awesome. I chose the class within 3 minutes, thanks to Chandana. She showed up in Bangalore randomly, and I did choose. It was just crazy, just probably 5 minutes. I did not know her at all, and yet here I am creating and playing with her creations. I'm grateful. So thank you, guys.
Yeah.
We have the class happening the 16th, 17th, 18th of April. 16th is the intro. We have about 2 to 3 hours, Chandana. 1.5 hour of intro.
1.5 hours of intro.
But it's, of course, it's Chandana time, so you can look at 2 hours.
1.5 hours.
Yeah, fine. Let's see that. 1.5 hours of intro, and I wonder what contribution that could create to our worlds. Truly. And feel free to, my name is Samantha. Feel free to get in touch with me. I'd be more than happy to walk you guys through whatever questions you have with the class, or to require any facilitation that's required of you. And that's about it from our end, guys. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your presence and space for having us. See you guys soon.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you
Thank
for
you so
being
much.
here.
Thank you.
So super
Thank
grateful
you.
for everybody. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Chandana.
Thank you, lovely. See you all soon. Bye.
See you. Bye.